to the typing issue itself is that with the body language, if you know the key features and you know the most common microexpressions, which I learned in 1976 when my eldest son was born. And I had a very progressive pediatrician that gave me a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with different faces on it and different emotions. And he just said to me, he said, Katherine, you're pretty progressive. This guy says babies can talk before they ever can speak. And I looked at the piece of paper and I said, it's not just babies, it's everybody. But I did actually understand at a deeper level, so I could understand my baby really effectively. But as an 8, I was already tracking that. And the other type that tracks it too are the 6s. And then the 5s want to evaluate it. And then other people, like, it's only if it's really overt. And what's important is microexpressions can be tiny. It could be a little or a little.
Or the inner knowing also, like.
Oh yeah, inner knowing is like with a little smile on the face. It's like, yeah, I can do that. You want to? But it's playful. Whereas contempt is looking down and pursing the lips, and it's more type 1. Now, several types use contempt, but ones have the contempt with their mouth and the eagle eye, and they'll raise one eyebrow and just, it's disapproval.
Patterson.
Yeah.
Every video is him, like, he's bad. Yeah.
He's a great example of a 1. I mean, his whole focus is on the rules. And you would think that that would help people understand that it's type 1. But having said that, 1s initiate rules that are necessary. And their focus is on having more of a utopia, that if everybody follows certain rules, the whole world or community will improve. Having said that, with the type 2, there's this tracking that isn't like the 6 tracking, like, oh, what's that sound over there? I can do that. Sometimes I do that, where you see the face go from the right to the left, whether it's the mouth or the eyes, when they're recalling information, and they'll have one shoulder up, like protecting their jugular, and it's all unconscious. We don't realize we're doing this. And
yeah,
then
my mom is a 6. I saw a lot of time was yeah.
And then if they have 2, there'll be a little kind of invitation. Whereas with the 6, it's just, oh, I'm not sure. Well, are you, or what do you think? And there's just, whereas the 9, both shoulders come up and it's like, I don't know, doesn't matter. But there's a pleasant smile, which I didn't just do. I can't quite do it.
We like Val in our courses. Yeah.
It's kind of hard, but the 2 also has these very kind of liquid eyes that are very compelling. They're very attractive and you're drawn into them. They're inviting, they're welcoming. Whereas the sexual subtype has very, well, the instinct itself, but it does vary by subtype to the degree, but they're very oralized for those who know core energetics. But the eyes are kind of beautiful in a way and receptive. But with the 2, it's invitational, and there's movement of the chest forward. And it can just be simple pride, or I'm paying attention to you. Oh, wait, what did you say? And then it goes up and the chest goes out, and there's a little wiggle, like, oh, really? And they're adjusting to match the person they're speaking with. Now, 7s, on the other hand, do this with their head. Yeah. So if someone has 2 and 7, they often do a full movement. Then you go, okay, that's someone with 2 and 7. And then you just figure out which one is leading. and they'll do it with their hips as well. So it's like a wiggle. And it's like what you'll see in a child when around age 3 and they're excited, but they are seductive. They're inviting you in. And when they're young, it's cute. And when the two need something, they'll be cute. But if they want to persuade, then it'll be a more conscious seduction. And I must say that society in the last maybe 5 to 10 years has totally distorted what is positive about manipulation. All of us manipulate, all 9 types. But because of the malignant narcissist and people learning about that and understanding what that means, even the definitions of manipulation are very dark and negative. But I would say on the high side, you can navigate and manage situations by making people feel good about themselves. So that's the invitational part of type 2. And then with the 3, there's this way that their eyes are looking at you, looking at them, and then ever so slightly adjusting, like a little camera shutter, just like sort of changing. And the 3 is trying to project what will help them show their best side as you speak. And because the superego can't know the answer to everything, they still, 3s will try to be ready for what you're going to say and say it in the right way. So it's like they're shifting their focus and their expression. And that's because they're the center of the heart center. So they're modulating the emotion that's needed.
They come off a bit robotic.
But they really try to say and do the right thing as a survival strategy. And the 4, on the other hand, will have a quality of aloofness. And it's just like, even if they're in the down space, they'll be down and they'll look up. And even if they're feeling like not enough, they'll have like anger about it, at themselves, at others, at the situation, or those that have what they don't and feel they were unfairly denied. And that's all unconscious too, but you'll see ever so slightly, a looking down. Now that can happen with 1, 4, and 7, but with the 4, what's noteworthy is it's a shift from however they were a few minutes earlier. Now, a lot of people thought, because 4 was taught about having moods, distinct moods, people thought if they were moody, they were a 4. But actually, the most emotional type is the 6, because as they're thinking about something, they're feeling that thought. Whereas the 4s have very distinct moods, their own persona, very poised body language, whatever they want it to be, but you'll just see the positioning of it. It's elegant and a little mysterious, but yet not fully approachable. Whereas the 6, if they see that you're uncomfortable too, they'll be friendly. The 4 is waiting for the people to come to them, but they will make themselves more available to people they're interested in. Where 6s will just appreciate other people that are feeling awkward or uncomfortable or friendly. That's what they're looking for. Whereas the 4 is sorting for those that they have something unique in common. And they're determining that by listening to what's happening and then planting information that lets others know they have this exclusivity in a certain way. Now, by the way, 2s can do that, but it's more overt. They will know what the person they're interested in likes and dislikes, and then they will make a conscious effort to weave it into the conversation. So it's more seductive in a friendly, overt way, whereas the 4, it's more the pull, not I'm available, but you want to know me. And I'm going to let you know how, but you have to come towards me. Now, with the 5, as you know, I liked
Yeah.
the way Naranjo taught that the 5 sees themselves as small. So even if they're 6 feet tall and a good soccer player, something they can do physically, although many 5s are not interested in physical expression, those that are go from being kind of mild mannered and inhibited and reserved to really kind of dynamic if they're in competition, depending on their tritype too.
Fastball, like and the actor, you also mentioned
Yes,
some of the
yes,
time,
yeah.
like, but like when people are like, oh, but you are more big, etc. Like, I have to be small.
No,
Like,
they feel small, and they often have their shoulders rolled in and up. And rarely does the 5 let their shoulders drop. And they might have broad shoulders, but you're right. It's more the endo, ecto, and predominantly the stereotype is on the ecto. So all the 5s that were fleshier or a little bit mesomorph would be missed. But it is true, they don't usually have a strong jaw, but they'll have a more prominent brow line and usually a smaller face. But when there is a more structured face, chiseled, like we would see in the 3 and the 8, it's because they have the 3 or the 8 in the tritype.
Elon Musk.
Yes. He's a perfect example of a 5 that has the 3 and 8. And he's so personable, but people don't realize is he's actually sexual. He just has Asperger's. When interviewed, he'll say he needs to be in love. He need, what 5 talks about that unless they are sexual. It's that simple. But because he has Asperger's, he's going to reveal that, where other 5s might not. But yes, and the body type, the body language, but there's a way in which with a 5, you're aware of the thinking process, the envisioning, conceptualizing things. And whereas the 6 kind of moves a lot, the 5, it's teeny tiny like this. Do, 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 do.
Yeah.
It's like there's more observation going on. Now, the shy person will observe first, but what are their expressions? 5s can make themselves just disappear because they want to be able to observe without being observing. You could say more
Yeah.
than that.
Like, up in the times when I was younger, we're like in a party or stuff like that, or just they want to be there, like
Yeah.
vanish with energy. Like, where did it go? And then sometimes I got called the ghost because like this thing. And what about 8 body language? The nonchalance? Yes.
Oh yeah, it's like whatever. But it's not like, oh yeah, whatever, yeah. And like being faded out like the 9. Both 8 and 9 say doesn't matter, but with the 8 there'll be a disgust. So everything is what? Wait, you're telling me? And then it's a setup, and it's so the 8 gets the truth. But what they do is they take the information that people have stated that's incorrect, and then the 8 will say, wait, that's what you think? And so it zeroes in on the person. And then the person says, well, yeah, maybe. And if it's just a cute, adorable social 6 that's just piping up and sharing whatever interests them, then the 8 will see that and just smile and enjoy them. But if someone's trying to get away with something, the 8 won't say it overtly, depending on the instinct, but they will set the person up to reveal they don't know what they're talking about, or they aren't telling the full truth. And again, you have to look at the defense strategy. Why? Well, the 8 has an unconscious fear of being controlled and manipulated, and they want to be master and commander of their own life. So they feel everyone else deserves that, which is why they speak up for others as well. Whereas 6s will identify with others, especially the underdog. But like in that example, when I was a child and I was the one blamed for something I didn't do, my 6 friend didn't say anything because she didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah,
So,
like the 6A3 will typically think they're 8, and the stereotypical description of NTP is the 6A3.
yes.
So they will often think to be NTP, not necessarily.
And you're saying something really important, and that is the tritype of the 3, 6, 8 in any order is the stereotype of the way 8 was taught by those who hadn't studied with Naranjo or Chazo. Now remember, in all fairness, Naranjo did not teach for almost 24 years, because once the people that had signed confidentiality agreements with him started teaching, and that was Robert Oakes and Kathy Speed, that put him in a difficult situation because he, Naranjo, had signed a confidentiality agreement with Chazo. So he was very disapproving of people going against that agreement. And there were people that were taking credit for Chazo's work, and it really upset him. And some did not even name that it came from a Chazo. They learned from someone who learned from Naranjo or directly from Naranjo, but some of the first authors never met Naranjo or a Chazo, and they were doing their best to try and figure out what the types were thinking. But it really wasn't until Naranjo's information came back in that we got a more full or complete picture of the Enneagram. And it wasn't until I studied with everybody and with Naranjo, and then even more after I went and attended an intensive with Chazo, and I could see the way he taught. And the person that I knew really well was someone who taught Chazo's work for 10 years. He was an authorized teacher. So I learned what was lost in the dissemination of the Enneagram. And it could be lost from only one teacher to another. So when I see a book and people are describing the types, I know who they studied with.